what we're trying to do in this business, even when I'm teaching you about business and Troy's teaching you about craft, what we're trying to do is trying to give you a sustainable path to be on that makes sense for you and that can continue moving you forward as in this business. Because like Troy said, sometimes this business sucks. Sometimes it's really hard, but there are some
hard business.
And the reason is because it's constantly changing and it just doesn't make any sense sometimes. But there are some advantages because of that to looking at this business like a hobbyist. Well, welcome to Pros Talking Prose. We're glad you're with us today. Thanks to all of you who have already subscribed. But if you haven't already, please like, subscribe, and follow because we talk about all things publishing and writing in this channel. And so we are here to kind of just give you the real nitty-gritty of what goes on in the day in the life of a writer and author. And because we're professional publishers and editors, we have kind of an inside scoop on what's going on in the industry as well. So we're happy to talk about those things. So controversial or not, we just kind of talk about all things in the business. That's what we do.
All things in this narrow little lane that we live in. We have
this
lives
quirky,
outside of that, but they're small, insignificant.
We're quirky.
And, it really doesn't matter. Yeah,
we're quirky and weird. So you're welcome to follow us. And just so you know, we have some monthly webinars. Some of you guys don't stay to the end because we get into these long discussions, but we do have monthly webinars and classes that we offer for those of you who are looking for education. Troy teaches the Craft Lab, and his classes are every fourth Tuesday of the month.
Yep.
Okay. And
something like that.
Mine are mostly the third Thursday, unless we're running into some kind of events. But you can go over to printpro.com and you can find those classes and sign up for those classes over there. And a lot of times I'll put the links in the discussion or in the description of the video here as well.
Yes,
and we've also got some really fun events that we're promoting. If you didn't catch our little bonus episode that I dropped just this last week with Becca and Roland, we had a nice discussion with them, and they're going to join us at Fjeldheim this October. So if you're interested in joining us at our little intimate writers retreat, I'll also have that in the description.
Oh, yes.
So
please feel free to join us. I just wanted to mention before we get this started is that most of our podcasts are very casual, and that one is as well. And I love the comments that people were talking about. It was like 4 friends just got together and talked.
Yeah, and that's literally what it was.
Because that's literally what was happening. Like those are 2 of my favorite people on the planet.
Me too.
I love them and what they do for authors. I love talking with them whenever I get the chance to do that. So if you guys haven't seen that yet, pop on over and watch it. It's a fun conversation. We are talking about Fjeldheim, but we're also talking about just some important things in the writer's life, like how many unread emails you keep in your inbox. So if you want to know more about Roland and the things that made Becca and I sweat during the podcast, you should go watch it.
There was some very awkward moments.
I think we were both about to die. There were bad things happening. All I know is my vision blurred, one eye closed. I had a really bad headache. All of a sudden, it was weird. Anyway, you should go watch it. It's entertaining.
You
see me have a seizure.
Anyway. Oh yeah, it's funny. But anyway, so today we're going to talk in that lane. We are going to talk a little bit about how to kind of stay positive and have a positive mental attitude when things get difficult in your author business. And because we are seeing some difficult days ahead, with everything that's happening in the news and everything, we just want you guys to know and understand that the writing business continues on. It just keeps on trucking. But there are some things that we want to kind of empower you with and give you hope, because it is not it's not very difficult to get kind of down in the dumps a little bit sometimes when this is kind of, I've always talked about how this business is a little bit kind of like an isolated business. You do a lot of your writing on your own. You're not really in this social, you're not like you're in an office where you're talking to a bunch of friends and you're standing around a water cooler every day. It's not like that with the writers. And so sometimes it's really easy to kind of get depressed especially if you get wrapped up in the social media and news of it all. So we wanted to give you kind of some words of encouragement, I guess, today. And we're going to lead off with something that Roland said in our last bonus podcast. And it was because he's kind of the inspiration for this video or this podcast, this episode. And it also brought me back to when we interviewed Johnny Truant, because he kind of said the same thing, but specifically Roland brought up that treating your author career like a hobby can be a positive way to look at your business. And he's not saying like to treat like the business side of it like a hobby, but what he was talking about specifically was like not taking it so seriously and looking at it from a very optimistic approach. And some of the things that you brought up, Troy, were more interesting on that take. So what are some ways that this kind of rings with you?
Here's I guess the way that I should frame this is every professional author started as an author who was not making money from their author business. Okay, everybody starts there, because when you've got your very first book out, unless you're very, very lucky, when you have your first book out and you're first starting out, you're actually spending more money on creating your books and having them edited and getting book covers and all that kind of stuff. You're spending more money than you're making.
Right.
Like, I mean, it's just, and look, if we back out, 100-foot view, whatever, it's that way with every business that starts out. It starts out not making money, and then you eventually get to the point where you're making money. I had a friend of mine who talked about micro businesses, like small businesses, that your business plan should be year 1, starve, year 2, starve, year 3, starve, year 4, eat a little ramen, year 5, and onward, prosper.
Like, that's kind of the entrepreneur playbook, but
kind of an entrepreneur playbook. But, and not to discourage you that it actually will take you 4 years or whatever, but it could. It depends, right? But there are things that move faster, things that move slower. But the important part of that is to understand, first of all, that making money, as we've often talked about, was never for most people when they started out, was never the goal of their writing in the first place.
Exactly.
The role of your writing in the first place was to express yourself and the things that you felt, and to tell your stories, and then find a way to share those stories with others in a meaningful way. And hopefully, when you're sharing those stories with others, because really the way people read your stories and they mean something to them is when they pay for them. When you give them to them for free, people just don't read free books as much as they read books that they actually paid for. It's just kind of a science thing that happens because that's something they value more. Okay. So when you first start out, if you can think of your business, your writing business, almost like a hobby that you would like to eventually monetize, then what that does is it helps shift your mindset. You don't feel guilty about not making money right away. And the example I always use for people who are having trouble, their spouse is like, what, you're not making any money on that writing thing yet? And they're going to conferences and stuff like that. And they're getting a hard time at home because they're spending this money financially and they're not making a return on their investment. Is I'm like, turn and ask that spouse about one of their hobbies. Say, hey, have you made any money on that golf thing yet? You go golfing every weekend, you pay greens fees, you pay for memberships to a club. We even went on a vacation last year so that you could play golf somewhere else, right? On the master's course in Georgia or whatever, right? Other people are investing money in their hobbies all the time. When I was skiing all the time, I spent a lot of money, even though I was working as a ski instructor in ski patrol, so I made some money, but I was never making rich thank you money, because you don't get paid that to be a ski instructor in the US. That happens in Europe, not here. It's not a career here, right? In Europe, it's actually a career, kind of like being a waiter or other things that are service oriented like that. In Europe, that's a job, right? That's actually a career. In America, that's something that's looked down upon anyway, so you don't make any money from that. But I bought skis, I took lessons, I got certifications, I did all kinds of things, right? I went to all kinds of schooling that were centered around that occupation. Now, part of the reason you want to treat it like a business and a hobby at the same time is because if you register your business, then you can take those as tax deductions for a certain number of years before the IRS eventually says, hey, if you're never making money, this is actually a hobby, not a job. But for those first initial years when you're losing money because you're going to conferences and stuff, you can write off everything that you do related to your writing as a tax deduction.
That's exactly right.
So it's actually better than your husband's golf obsession or whatever the case may be. But anyway, so it's not saying don't treat this, the finances as a business or whatever entirely, but your mentality is, I don't have to make money from this right away because this is not monetized yet. This is my hobby that I hope to monetize, right? That gives you a lot of freedom mentally. It gives you a lot of positivity mentally. So it's really just getting your brain to think about what you're doing differently. You're not doing anything differently, right? Yeah. It's not that you're throwing out your checkbook and not paying any attention to the money. It's that your mentality is, I don't have to feel guilty about not making money, because that allows you to create art without the pressure of monetizing that art with some kind of immediacy.
What it does is it actually protects the part of you that actually loves to write, is what it does. So really, I mean, the hobby mindset, it encourages you to have like curiosity and play and learning and community and low stakes creativity and all these things that you're like looking to kind of help nurture that muse of yours, right? And that's really, curiously enough, that is really what keeps your author business going. It's actually what's going to keep you fresh, and it's going to probably build your stamina, and it's probably going to be what keeps your author business alive for the long term, is all those things. Right. But you have to have this mindset because it helps to nurture you.
This is one thing that Roland said, and it's one thing that I've said often and maybe not often enough on this podcast. But here's the thing. Like, you have to love the writing.
Right.
Like, you have to love it. Like, love it more. I love story more than almost anything. Right. I love my partner, Holly. She is fantastic. I really, really, really love her. Probably right under her is story. Right. Maybe my dog's in there somewhere. I don't know. He's kind of being a pain in the ass.
You do like your dog, but
but you know what I mean? Like, you have to love the writing. Well, that's the foundation for everything. Whether you're going to treat this as a hobby or as a business that you're going to monetize, or however you're going to treat your writing, to continue writing for a sustainable period over years, you have to love it, because otherwise, why do it? Like, there's just other things you can do. So you above all, you have to have that foundation. We haven't talked about the foundation. You have to have a good story, but to have a good story, you have to love the writing and constantly want to improve and make your writing better. That is just foundational to keeping your business going, because there will be hard times.
Yeah.
There will be hard times. It's not, and we're looking at that right now. Royalties are up all over the place right now. Weird things are happening with Amazon's algorithm and everybody else's algorithms. All kinds of stuff is just kind of feels off kilter a little bit.
Yeah. Not to mention the political and the economical state of our country and the world. Yeah. It's just a little bit
let's just mention, like Roland said in that podcast, let's just mention world events and leave it at that, regardless of which side of the political spectrum you're on or whatever. There's some things that are happening right now that are not great.
Right.
They're not great for the economy. They're not great for the world atmosphere, that type of thing. So this is stuff that can poison your creative well and keep you from being as creative and happy as you really want and need to be. But if you can keep your focus on the fact that I love the story, I love
This
writing,
is
I
my
love those
escape.
things.
Yeah, this is the
This is
thing.
my this is
This is
my
my
place.
zen.
This is my
Mm-hmm.
zen. This is my, because I escape into writing. This is, I mean, and I've told you guys this story before, how in 2020, like there were writers I knew who just froze because the world was such a terrible place.
Yeah, it was.
They're like, I cannot handle it. And I went, the world's a terrible place. You know where I escape? Into story. And I
Right.
wrote like a madman, right? So there's different responses to the world crisis that's happening right now. There are people that freeze because they literally just can't handle everything that's happening unless they isolate themselves from it. Which honestly,
Not the
man,
best thing to do.
take a break from the media right
Mm-hmm.
now for
Yeah.
a
I
minute,
think Roland says he
for
doesn't
just a
even
minute.
scroll. He just checks
Well,
in
yeah,
with his friends on social
he
media
checks
and
in with his friends on Facebook, stuff like that. But like,
protects
you
his
probably
peace,
won't
I guess.
you probably won't go friend request Roland. I don't know how many friend requests he accepts or whatever, but you probably won't just go friend request him and get accepted. Not because, and it's kind of like my partner Holly, like she doesn't accept friend requests unless she knows the person. Even when she does, sometimes she's like, nah,
Yeah,
I
and
don't think
me
so.
too. I should
You
just say
know,
this because people have friend requested me on Facebook. I want you to know I see you. I appreciate you. I have a personal page. Go to Edits by Stacey, that page. It's actually facebook.com/love your editor. And you can follow me there. But my personal page is reserved very much like Roland. It's reserved for my friends and family, and it's reserved for just that protect my peace
right.
kind of thing, right? But that's what we want you to do. We want you to just protect your peace. Go
Yes.
out there and
Oh, and
give yourself a safe space.
one thing Roland mentioned, and it's a great tip for this podcast too, for keeping yourself sane. And most people know this, but often we forget it. And
Mm-hmm.
it's, if you're scrolling through things on social media and you see something that is upsetting to you, that disrupts your zen, or that's just feels stupid or whatever, there's a little X in the corner that you can X out. And Facebook won't show you that particular content again, but eventually it learns you don't want to see any of that type of content. And so it learns your preferences. So then you can have at least a little better experience when you get onto social media, right?
Right.
And I highly recommend you don't doom scroll. I do things like my phone has limits on the number of hours that I can have Facebook or Instagram. In fact, all of them are looped together. Like my
Mm-hmm.
time on social media is limited on my phone every single day. And if I
Mm-hmm.
reach that limit, now, if I reach that limit, I can hit the button, ignore that limit, and keep scrolling if I want to. So if I'm homesick or something and I'm like, I just want to freaking doom scroll all day and watch
Which
stupid
has kind
cat
of been
videos or whatever,
my
then,
days the last
you know what I
couple
mean?
days with my fever and everything. I've just been sitting
Yeah.
on the internet just watching videos. You
Right,
people are
exactly. I
insane.
mean, I mean, sometimes if you're sick or if you're just tired, like I just, there's been times when we've been so busy that I'm like, I'm so tired. I just needed time to just mindlessly do something, right? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
then that's fine. But I don't necessarily recommend
Don't
staying
get
on
it looped
Meta or
into it.
some of the other social
It
profiles,
is a huge
you
time
know,
suck. It is a huge
maybe
time
the
suck.
YouTubes, and
Mm-hmm.
refrain from commenting on things if you at all can. Now, there's certain things that I comment on that I have a difficult time just scrolling by. Um, but mostly what I find myself commenting now is stuff related to writing and publishing that are in my lane, right? I'm not commenting on somebody's religious or political post as much as I want to sometimes. The problem is it draws my creative energy away from the
Right.
things that I need to do and that I love to do, and towards something that is not beneficial to
So
me.
you really
So,
tapped onto something that I really want to point out. I want you to understand that like positive mental attitude is not necessarily pretending that things aren't existing or pretending that things don't hurt or ignoring the bad sales or the bad days or
mhm.
to like it's not even manifesting, manifesting positivity. But we're trying to help you understand is that it's best to have a good perspective, create those emotional boundaries and those emotional, I guess, lines in the sand that you want to protect. Like I said, protect your creativity, protect your sanity, and then be adaptable. And we've talked about this a couple of times, just being willing and able to adapt when things shift in such a way that you feel like you need to change your direction or your approach to your business or to your writing schedule, so that when things are difficult. So for example, Troy and I are talking about like this upcoming conference schedule and how we're not sure with the state of the economy how things will go. We're kind of just wondering about like travel and like what's going to happen. And so he and I have set up some boundaries. Like we're saying, okay, by these deadlines, we're going to make these judgment calls. But that's what I mean is like, we're not there. We don't panic. You don't go into a spiral. What you do is you create a perspective of like, okay, this is what's happening. This is my plan B. This is how I'm going to work, so that I'll work up until that time and know that that's what I'm planning for. But if something changes, then I know what I'm going to be doing, so that when that time comes that it does happen, you're not freaking out. You're just making the pivot and you're moving down that next lane.
Yeah. So it doesn't mean putting your head in the sand and acting like nothing is wrong. Because here's the problem. Well, the problem with that is sometimes there actually is something wrong. Now, sometimes though, the truth is there's not much you can do about it.
Right. Some things are out of your control.
But like there's just some things that are out of your control. And so if there's something you can do about it, that's different. There's things you can take action. If your Facebook ads are tanking and it's spending plenty of money, I'm not saying, or tons of money, and you're not getting a good return on that, I'm not saying put your head in the sand and pretend that everything's okay and put a positive light. Well, put a positive spin on that and figure out what data you've learned from those Facebook ads that weren't working. But stop the ad and stop the spend. I mean, take action in that case, right? So have those contingency plans in place, not because we're expecting what's negative, but because if something negative happens, we need a positive way to deal with it and to turn it around, right? Because that lack of planning, that can kick your butt.
It can really kill a business. So, yeah, I mean, it's really like what Troy said, like you're not getting noticed in the algorithm. Your book sales aren't, they're not reaching your goals or whatever. Like just look at it with a level head. One of the things that I was like laughing about is my daughter one time, she was having kind of a nervous Nelly moment and she was having a really bad day. And she was like, just panicking, like her whole world was crashing and tumbling in. This is what anxiety does to you, right? But I pulled her aside and I was like, babe, it's gonna be okay. This is this. I'm trying to be, and she's like, everything you're telling me, I already know. She goes, what's crazy is that I can tell my friends that, I can tell you that, I can tell my husband that, but right now I don't, and so I understand how that, I have anxiety disorder too. So I understand how you can kind of spiral and kind of lose track of your perspective. But if you have somebody that can help ground you and and help you come out of that spiral, then once you do, then you can kind of take that broader perspective. But if you're in a full panic spiral, that's not the time to make any decisions at all.
Right.
So
right.
So remember, remember that what we're trying to say is like, make these decisions in these level-headed perspective, take these like out of your frame perspective looks at your business when you have a level head, not when you're panicking.
Right.
So,
like I had a client and she was super worried about like finishing this manuscript, right? It has to get done. I just want to get it over with. I just want to get it done. We really need to work through this thing. In the middle of that, her mom passed away.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, listen, please. Writing is my therapy in times like that. But the writing that I do during that time that is my therapy always isn't always what I'm publishing at the moment. Okay. And it's not necessarily be shared with someone else. And if I need to take a break at that moment, take a break. You know, when I was going through that with my dad and with my mom, I mean, the sometimes things just stop for a while. Okay. It's okay.
Yeah, in
It's
fact,
okay.
one of our
You know,
preferred vendors, she's going through this right now, actually. She's one of my favorite partners in this business. She's just really been amazing asset to Print Pro and Edits by Stacey for years. And um I recently got contacted by a good friend of hers who wants to work on another book. And she mentioned that she was kind of going through some stuff. And I reached out to her, and same thing, family. And it's a big spiral. Like, she's in the ICU right now with her dad, that they've suspected he's had a stroke. And like, she's having to take her mom around, and there's just business. And so it's like one of those moments where I was like, yeah, I've been through that. Like, I've been through those moments, and I've had, like, just in the last 2 days, I've been sick, like, so sick.
oh yeah.
And today I barely, and the day that I thought, okay, I'm well enough to sit down at my computer, my internet crashed after my first meeting this morning. And so what's funny is, like, what did I do? I didn't panic. I was just like, okay, this is probably just the universe telling me I need to take another little afternoon.
Take another little afternoon off.
So,
yeah, exactly.
But just not panicking. Just don't panic when things don't work
life
out.
happens. Well, this is one of the things that Becca said that's one of my favorite things. Okay, so if you guys haven't watched Becca Syme and haven't seen her podcast,
BetterFasterAcademy.com. Go over there and follow her.
BetterFasterAcademy.com. She had a podcast for a while that was QTP, Question the Premise. Because people will tell you in this industry, well, we've talked about this several times. People tell you in this industry, you have to do this thing. If you're going to be successful, you have to run ads. If you're going to be successful, you have to use AI. If you're not using AI, you will be left behind. And all this other stuff, right? Yeah, like a Ted Decker novel or whatever, I mean, all right, give me a break. Okay. So, but what she always tells you to do is just stop and question the premise. When somebody says, you have to do this thing, you want to say, do I have to do the thing? Right? Do I have to? But one of the things that she said in our podcast that was like, I mean, I've said similar things before, but it's so good to hear it from somebody else's brain and their mouth. And she said, the one thing that I want people to question the premise about is that disruption does not last forever. We always feel like in publishing and in writing that a disruption comes along, whatever that may be. And in this case, we have a couple happening of world events and a bunch of AI content and all that kind of stuff. And we have all of these things happening at once, right? And it feels like this is a disruptive period that's just going to last forever. And there are people out there that are telling you publishing as you know it today is dead. And all of these other things, right? And it's all this fear mongering. It gets you to click on the headline and you read it and you're like, oh my God, this is just terrible. They're right. Publishing is going to ending forever and it's never going to be the same. And you follow down that rabbit hole. But here's the thing that we know. Everything always normalizes. When self-publishing first came out, people were like, this is going to kill all the big five publishers and agents
no more
and editors.
No more print books.
Oh yeah. Then ebooks came along and people were like, there's going to be no more print books. People are never going to buy print books again. The ebook is the death of the print book. Now there are young people who prefer to read physical books and buy physical books ahead of ebooks all the time. And it's people my age who are reading on a Kindle. Why? Because we can change the font and it has a backlight at night.
And you can increase the size.
So I can take my glasses off and I can go, I can still read. Where if I pick up this physical book and I take my glasses off, I'm like, chapter 24. I can't read the headline. I mean, shit. Anyway, that's not 100% true. I'm kidding. But I mean, what I mean though is that physical books are just like albums and CDs and tapes and all that kind of stuff are having a comeback with younger people because they like the physical thing that they own that's in their hands instead of something that's digital and on a digital platform, right? Those are the people, the younger people are the ones who are saying no to AI.
Right.
Right. It's interesting. There's a middle ground of people who are saying yes to it. And there are a lot of people who are saying yes to it for work, but no to it for creative endeavors.
There's just, I
And
want
a
people to
lot
know
of
that
people,
regardless of what you're choosing to do, however you want to do this business, there's a place for you.
yes,
There's a place for
absolutely.
you. So that's why,
Absolutely.
that's what Troy and I are
Absolutely.
trying to tell you is like, you don't have to, like, Troy and I have policies about AI use in our publisher, and then we have policies about it in our self-publishing, like in our indie publishing side of things. And it's different. And it's different per author, per goals, per, you know, like there's all these things.
Per writing life.
Per writing life. The advice I give to one author is not going to be the same advice I give to another author if they have completely different goals
regarding anything,
regarding most things, actually.
most things.
So
I mean, that's the thing is like what, you know, and plug my Plot Dude Guide to Story course.
Right.
The whole point of that is for you to discover your own way.
Yeah.
It's not to give you a blueprint of these different ways that you can draft your story. It's for you to look at all of them and then find your own way. Pick the way that fits for you. And the reason is, like I always say, the only rule is that it has to work for you.
It works. Yeah, it has to work.
It has to work for you. And that means that what works for me may not work for you, right? So, I mean, but what we're saying about all this is that it's interesting that the older people like me who have been through the things of, oh, ebooks are dead, and you know, records are dead, and CDs are dead, and tapes are dead, and 8-tracks are dead, and all the things are dead. And a lot of those things are coming back around with younger people because they do want that physical thing that they can hold in their hands, right? They want that physical thing that they can hang on to that is theirs rather than something digital. They want something human generated content, not because there's anything wrong with if you want to create AI content, but because that's what they're looking for, is that human aspect of it.
Exactly.
So, I mean, ultimately, ultimately, it's
we're trying to what we're trying to do in this business. Even when I'm teaching you about business and Troy's teaching you about craft, what we're trying to do is trying to give you a sustainable path to be on that makes sense for you and that can continue moving you forward as in this business. Because like Troy said, sometimes this business sucks. Sometimes it's really hard, but there are some
hard business.
And the reason is because it's constantly changing and it just doesn't make any sense sometimes. But there are some advantages because of that to looking at this business like a hobbyist, right? There's some advantages to thinking this way. I mean, when you're a hobby writer, you read more, which is something we've talked about, where we've talked about, like, you know, building and learning from other people. And you're willing to take more creative risks. One of the things that's like the reason Troy and I work as business partners so well is because I am so adverse. I'm like always like, I just like want to like, where's the safe space? Like, is that that's the proven trail? How many people have gone before us? About 150. What was the success rate? And then Troy's like, do you see that way with they're jumping out of an airplane? Let's go. Like,
exactly.
Wait.
I'm the guy. So, and I'll just give you an example of this because it's really funny.
It's funny.
Okay, my friend Jim Lambert, 1 year. So it was after I'm full-time writing, full-time editing, right? So I have my schedule is my own to an extent. Like, you have to get things done. There are deadlines, right? But you can do them at the time that works for you, right? So my friend Jim calls me up on a Sunday. I want to make this very clear. This is a Sunday, okay? Sunday evening, to be exact, right?
Okay.
He calls me up and he's like, hey, dude, would you like to go to a writer's conference? And I said, sure. When? And he said, Wednesday.
When was this?
And I went. It was the first year I went to LTV. I think it was
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
I think it was 2013 or 2014. I think it was 2014. But first year I went to LTV, and basically Jim just called me up and said, hey, you want to go to a writer's conference? No specifics, you notice, about where it was, how much it cost, where we were going to stay. There were no specifics like that. And I said, sure, I would love to go to a writer's conference, because I'm thinking he's planning ahead. I didn't know Jim as well then. I know him better now.
You know him better now.
And he's like, Wednesday. And because of who I am, and because I saw there was an advantage, a potential advantage there, there were some things that I could do, some things that I could learn, some things that I could jump into in that conference. And I also was at that point where I wanted to start teaching at conferences more. And I knew the way to do that was become familiar with them and go to the conference.
And you've gone every year since, haven't you?
And so every year I missed 1 year. I've missed 1 year in all the time since, which is really, that's another interesting thing, because it's a conference outside my genre, which is something I'll recommend for you in a different podcast. We'll talk about conferences and retreats and how to figure out where to go.
We should, before conference season, how to leverage those and prepare for them.
It's actually a great thing. But yeah, because conferences, choosing your conference, going to certain conferences and workshops and retreats and stuff like that, it's a strategic decision, because you're investing a lot of time and money.
I do have a Red Ink episode where I cover this and I talk about conference season, but but to do a deep dive on that would be really fun.
Yeah, it'd be really fun to do. But yeah, go watch Stacey's Red Ink too, because I know in fact, I remember when you put that out and I was like, oh, that's really good. Because and I think I have a blog post somewhere on one of my
you probably do. I mean, it's something that we all kind of talk about on occasion. Yeah.
But I mean, because I think, but it always bears revisiting, because here's the thing, you're with a certain amount, you're taking a risk of time and money when you go to a conference, and you want it to be worthwhile, but there are ways that you can make it worthwhile regardless of what happens with the conference organizers, with the people that show up for the conference, all that kind of stuff. There are things you can do to make it work for you.
And this is, again, it's that creative hobbyist, right? Because you're going in there with this idea of like, I'm going to learn, grow, and figure this out kind of in this fun way, right? And you're going to enjoy the process, and you're going to get to know people, and you're not going to be paralyzed by fear, or the fact that you don't know what you're doing, because you're going there with a different mindset. You're going there with the mindset of to learn.
And let's throw it out there, just while we're having brutal honesty, let's just throw it out there. You are not going to go to a writer's conference and sell your books unless you've written a book that is for writers.
Right.
Sometimes you will sell some books, but the numbers are going to be very minimal. Unless it's an event like Reader Nation that Author Nathan has set up, where they are deliberately selling tickets and targeting readers to come into that event. I did very well with sales at that event last year. And the reason was the people walking around was not other authors talking to authors.
No, there were people from the Las Vegas Valley.
But there were readers from the Las Vegas Valley who they had drawn in, who came in deliberately to see authors and buy books. And it was wonderful. Okay.
That is a
rare event. Most of the time, there are times when author conferences will have a place for you to sign books and sell your books, and you won't sell very many. And the reason is not because it's because, like, especially when you get to be an experienced author, people send me their books all the time because they want me to read and review them or leave a blurb for them or whatever related to their book, right? Okay, so I get lots of books for free. And then there are some books that I buy because I really enjoy the author, or I enjoy that book, or whatever the case may be, right? So I have a very full TBR list, and I edit for a living, so I read for a living all the time. So I don't always have a lot of time for pleasure reading, right? So it is going to be very challenging for you to sell me a book at a conference. Not that it hasn't happened, but you're going to have to work at it, right?
Yeah, most of the time it's me.
In there and they're
it's
like,
just a collector,
I see your genre.
Yeah.
It's a collector
Or I'm doing it because I want to support that author for a specific reason.
Right.
But
exactly.
It doesn't. Yeah, I always feel guilty when I buy a book from an author that I'm like, I know I'm not going to read this book, but I'm buying it because I like you and I like what you're doing and I appreciate it.
And I want to support
and I
want
to support you and I want to support what you're doing. But that's another reason why I like on Kickstarter sometimes to just say, you know, I'm going to support this author, but I'm not necessarily asking for a reward. I'll just do a reward free. Because
Exactly.
I appreciate what you authors are doing, but don't take offense by that. I mean, I love you guys, but it's like what Troy said. There's just not enough hours in the day.
I don't always need another physical copy of a book, or I don't always need, and sometimes like I back a lot of Kickstarters that are for stuff that's deliberately for writers or it's tech related, right? It's like something that makes my life easier tech wise, right? But the point is that the reason we're doing it, the reason I'm looking at all, is because I'm trying to support people who are being creative and using that making those creative endeavors into something that they're doing something with, right?
Right.
So, and I bought some art the same way. I have a piece of art on my wall that I'm like, I know the artist became well known later, but this particular thing, like the art itself, is great. But like, there's some lettering that she did on the art that I'm like, man, that could have been so much better.
I bought a book just like that. I think I gave it to my son.
Like, it's like, I love that piece of art because I know that artist went on to improve and to become better. And I've seen her art since. But I've got a piece of original art from her that not a lot of people have. You know what I mean? So there
I have to find that book.
There are, so we want to support creatives, right? But the point of that being that I don't want you to get discouraged because when you go to a writers conference, you don't sell a bunch of books. That's not what you're doing there, right? You're there to learn. You're there to network with your peers.
And again, it's
I have
networking.
had incredible conversations with people that you wouldn't have conversations. And we've talked about this before, that you wouldn't have conversations anywhere else. I've had, I've developed friendships with people. I mean, I developed a friendship with Rebecca, Syme, and Roland through like conferences and other places where we worked together.
Yeah,
right? So
when I met James A. Owen, it was at a writers conference, and I sat at his feet, and we just cried together for like, after the conference was over, we were just sitting there crying, like just telling stories, and it's just amazing. But you make these amazing friendships with these people and with amazing people, and they come down to earth with you, and you just kind of feel like that camaraderie. But it's very much, you know what, actually, I'll bring in James, because one of the things that he said when I sat down at his feet that day was interesting. And Troy, I don't know. I know you know this about James because you've known him a long, long time, a lot longer than I have. But one of the things that James kind of carries with him is this childlike in quality of wonder, right? About life and about the world around him. And he's just kind of like has this carefree, weird whimsy about him. And it's an aura. It's definitely an aura to talk about, like the Gen Alpha word here. There's an aura there. And one of the things that I remember sitting there, and he was telling me this story, and he looked at me, and with this, I'm not kidding. When they say he had a twinkle in his eye, he literally had a twinkle in his eye. And he looked at me and he said, "I'm Peter Pan." And I'm not kidding. It was at that moment, my whole body covered in goose pimples, and I believed him. Like, it was one of those amazing moments. That right there is a hobbyist mindset. That is not a career mindset that carries that aura, that carries that vibe. Right. That is the fun that I think that Johnny Truant tells us to carry with us.
Yes, because so I have some stories about James, but I actually met him. Here's the ironic thing. I met him the first time at LTUE.
Oh, okay.
So that's where I met James A. Owens. And then one year, the year before I actually met him at LTUE, he was supposed to be there and give a keynote address. And he wasn't able to make it. There's some kind of flight thing or whatever, the last minute, wasn't able to make it. So he did it via Zoom. And it was one of the best keynote addresses I have seen in my life. Jim Lambert and I were sitting on the front row, and you had two big guys crying.
Well,
right?
Tell everybody what happened when he came to ours. When he came to our little writers conference a couple years ago, there was not a dry eye in that room. I looked.
Yes. And I mean, this is so, but here's the thing, okay? You can't, one of the things that I like, that I go through periods where I lose track of that joy and that happiness in writing, because I'm so focused on helping a lot of times I'm focused on helping other writers and helping other people. And I'm not focused on my own joy and my own writing. And what happens is I suffer, and so does everyone around me, right? Because you've got to keep that sense of wonder and joy. And it's something that James does very well. But using him as an example, he's also sharp business wise. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's making money.
Doesn't give up.
He is doing things.
And he shows up.
Yeah, he never gives up. And there are stories that I will leave for him to tell when you see him at conferences. But I can just tell you so this is the humbleness of the man is like, so my friend Jim and I, that I talk about LTE, we wrote a book on Star Trek, right? We go down to Phoenix Fan Fusion. Who is there? Because he's there, he lives in Arizona, and he's there every year, and he helps with the organization of it, which I didn't know until he showed up, is James Owen. So I'm walking down one of the main aisles after Jim and I have set up our booth, and walking the other way is James A. Owen. Giant hug. Every time we meet, we hug. Every time we say goodbye, we say, I love you, because
he's just, that's who he is.
Here's the thing. I want to normalize that and make it weird. Tell your friends you love them. Every time you say goodbye to them, make it weird, make it awkward, do it. Because you don't know what life holds the next day. Anyway, whatever. Okay. So, but James knows a whole bunch of people from the cast of Star Trek and have helped create Star Trek. So he said, can I have 10 of your books so I can send them to people who are in the cast of Star Trek? And I said, no, are you kidding me? You have to buy them. No, that's not what I said. I said, yes. I said, yes, you can. I went and got him a stack of books. And this is what he said. He looked at me and he said, can I please have one for me? And like, that breaks you, because I'm like, James Owen is asking quite politely for a copy of my book.
Yeah.
Like, what in the world? And all kinds of good things came out of that interaction. That's another thing for another minute, but I mean, for another podcast. But I mean, the point of the thing is that radiation of that positivity and that love of not only his own stories, but other people's stories and other writers and things like that was just amazing. At that same conference, I got the tattoo some of you have seen on my forum. I can't really show it. It's kind of awkward as hell. But that's of the cover of that book. And basically it's because a woman came by, her husband was one of the tattoo artists that was there that weekend. And I said, she's a major Trekkie. And I said, I'd love to get that tattooed sometime. She said, how about this weekend? And she cleared his schedule and made that possible. Those moments, I had a client that contacted me today. She's having some struggles in her personal life, some struggles with her book, but she wanted to let me know, hey, I'm sending you chapters next week. I'm having a hard time, but I'm doing okay. I said, hey, I'm here for whatever you need. I love you. And she said, you made me cry tears of joy. It's those moments that matter. Your network with other writers is gold when you are down. To have those people that you can text or call or send an email to who just simply respond, you're okay. You're going to make it through this. And I love you and I care about you. Let's do this thing together. Right? Dude.
It's okay.
I know I kind of got off track, but I'm kind of bringing it back.
That's okay, because it reminded me, because just today I got an email from Maryland. So for those of you guys who don't know, in the last 3 years, I've lost like I think I've lost like three clients. Three of my clients. One passed away in the middle of our project. I had just sent him the proof, and I was waiting for him to get back to me on the final proof so that I could get it formatted. And he I didn't hear from him, and I got a text message from his wife, and she said he's in the hospital and we don't know what's wrong. And then he passed away within a few days of that. And it was just sudden, like sudden. Well, Marilyn, she, bless her heart, she contacted me. It's been a year since his passing, and she contacted me, and she says, I promised him on his deathbed that I would get this book done. So she and we just finished it. She found a couple typos this weekend, and I just fixed them, and the book is up. It's gonna be live here like in the next few days. And it's just really exciting for me and for her, because it's, again, one of those things where she saw Eric's passion for this business. He loved this, but it wasn't it was the writing that kept him going. His passion was for the writing. His passion was for what he was saying in that book. And so really there's multiple sources of meaning and reasons why we do this business. But if all that meaning comes from book sales, or from the, like from the surge of sales that you get, or from, whatever, that's tied to that business part of things, you might find yourself in an identity crisis. You might find yourself struggling. You might find yourself depressed because you're looking at the wrong thing. So, right. Well, like, again, one of those things that I always tell people when they come into the print to pro side of things, and I'm helping them with the publishing side of things, I love business. Business is my ikigai. If you guys know what ikigai is, it's like that Venn diagram of happiness, right? And my Venn diagram of happiness is like when I'm helping authors with their business, that's where I'm the happiest. Now, one of the things that I realize and recognize is that when I'm working with authors, that's not their ikigai.
No.
So a lot of times when I'm I've had a lot of people come to me in tears, like sobbing, like, because they don't know how to make things work. And I can't tell you why and how I feel exactly, but I can tell you that there is an amazing feeling that I get when I can say, you're putting this burden on me. I'm taking care of this. You don't have to worry about understanding all of that information because I got you. And when you have that, it gives you permission to go ahead and find your why again and focus on that as your reason for writing. The other stuff, you can find people to support you in the other stuff so that you can focus on what the most important thing is. And that is the reason why you're writing.
Right. Because, and it's like we often talk about, even though the business side is important, it's not that it doesn't matter at all. But the reason you started writing, and this is why I've started to ask people often
what's your why?
Now, again, because I've always done this of what's your why? What's your reason for doing this? But then I ask them, is what you're doing right now, does that align with that original why? If your whole goal initially was to tell your story, then why are you doing this other thing? Yeah. Like when I'm using AI for parts of my business, I'm using it for two things essentially. One is to save me time, and the other is to make me money. But I'm not using it for the creative aspect of my business because that's what I love. Like I love drafting a story. I have tried to even draft chapters and scenes with the AI to see if I can get it to do what I wanted. And here's the thing, I can. It's a lot of work to do that, right? In fact, it would be just as fast for me to write it. Now, some people, if you're struggling mentally, physically, whatever, and you don't have that ability, and so AI becomes an assistant that helps you do that, my God, I am so for that. I want you to be able to tell your story, even if that means you have to use these tools or whatever to help you tell that story, then do it. For the love of all that's holy, do it, right? Get your story out there. But if you are able to, and you love the drafting process as much as I do, then why would you give that up instead of having AI or whatever take, or an assistant or whoever take care of things that you can't, that you don't want to do, that you don't like to do, that you're not even that good at, maybe. And why would you not outsource that to those things instead, right? It's a different mentality, different way of thinking, because I love the drafting process. Now, if you don't love the drafting process, but you love the revision process, okay, there's all kinds of things you can do to get there, right? But I think it's really important to remember, like, why did I do this in the first place? Well, I did it because I want to tell my stories and I want to share them with people and share them with the world, right?
And I
Okay,
think that's
my
probably the
why.
most important thing that you should do as you move forward. And that'll help you with your longevity and your sustainability of your author career. That is the number one thing. It's the first thing I do with my imprint academy, is help people find their why. It's also the first thing I do when you take Paper Trail, which is just a free class that helps you with understanding the publishing industry and which publishing path is best for you. But both those times I'm asking you, why are you doing this? Because it really does determine everything else afterward, and it helps everything else fall into place. So first thing. And then the second thing, I'm just gonna go through this quick list real quick. These are ways that you can keep this mindset, right? Detach worth from performance. Detach your worth from performance. Don't think that because your performance is poor that your worth is poor. It has nothing to do. One hand is not the other hand, not even close.
Outcomes do not matter.
Exactly. The third thing is creative recovery cycles. You need to remember that there are going to be systems that fail. There are going to be ad campaigns that don't work because the algorithm changed, or, the royalties now are shifting so that people are changing their pricing strategies. And that sometimes all those changes can sometimes make your life really, really uncomfortable. Nature has seasons, guys. To everything, there is a season. You have to kind of just be willing to roll with it as things go. Okay. So creative work is the same way. Sometimes you'll have there's plenty of ideas coming in, and sometimes you'll have a dry season, and it's okay. Just roll with it.
Well, and here's another thing just related to that cycle thing is, some people, when they finish a book, immediately start the next one. That's me. Okay. I
Becca.
know people that finish the book and they need a few weeks or a month or whatever between books before they start the next project, right? That's okay. Figure out your cycle and follow that. Please don't try to follow someone else's cycle because you think it looks cool.
Yeah.
Or you think maybe that'll make me be faster, or maybe that'll make me be better. Okay. Follow your cycle because that's what you feel. Follow your gut, especially when it comes to your creativity and your cycle.
Follow your gut.
Okay.
Yeah. Always listen to your gut.
There's always cycles, and eventually you can figure out what your cycles are. It's okay. And then just follow them, use them, because they're there for a reason, right?
Yeah. So, yeah. And have that long-term thinking. I mean, this is the fourth thing, is long-term thinking. Like think long-term. Don't think about just this today. This is what happened today, so my business is over. Like, no, like long-term, long game. Some of these authors like Troy and Johnny and these guys, they've been in the business for 20 years. Like it.
Oh, shut up.
Long game. You can have large backlists, you can compound your audiences, you can have crossovers like Vince has crossovers, right? Like it's okay. And then the last thing in my list, reduce the catastrophic thinking. Stop thinking that the world is going to end tomorrow. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not. It always goes on. One of the things with my anxiety disorder, I'm constantly like, if I'm spiraling, I have my one thing that pulls me out of it is usually, believe it or not, it's a weird thing, but I'll just ask my husband, I just need to hear your voice and I just need to hear the words because he knows what they are. It's going to be okay. That's all I need him to hear because he's never lied to me. That has never not been true. There have been times early in our marriage when we were so broke, I had to break into my kids' piggy bank to get milk. Like there have been times where we have been so like desperate that we didn't know what was going to happen the next day. And he's always said it's going to be okay. And he's never not been wrong. Like he's never not been right. It's always worked out.
Right.
So the doom spirals, the comparison thinking, the interpreting silence as rejection, the treating slow growth sales as like failure, none of that is true. Yes. None of it is true.
I mean, the thing I'll just say about this goes back to what we originally talked about, disconnecting from media. And if you're in the middle of a kind of a negativity crisis spiral, the worst thing you can do is open Facebook before you open your manuscript in the morning.
Yeah, Becca always says the first thing you should do is open your manuscript.
If you open your manuscript first, and this is, and Becca says this, and I love it when people like verify. One of the things that I've said forever is if you're in that writing phase of engaging in creativity, writing your story, whatever the case may be, here's the thing. Start first thing, whatever else that you're doing. Now, maybe you don't write until the evening or whatever, but if you get to that evening writing session, do not open anything else until you open your manuscript and begin to type or speak or dictate or whatever it is that you're doing. And the reason is because then you can get those words out before you're influenced by the crap that's happening in the world.
Good point.
Because there's going to be crap happening in the world. There's going to be distraction. There's going to be disruptions. And there's always going to be somebody saying, every year, I've worked at SEO for years, and every year, November, December, someone comes out with SEO in 2027 is dead. SEO in 2025 is dead. SEO in 2024 is dead. Look, they've said it every single year. And oddly, it's not dead. Right? So, like, just stop listening to these people that have these doomsday clickbait posts about how the publishing world is ending and authors are no longer relevant and all this other stuff. And just tune it out and do your thing and stick with your why. Keep paying attention to the business, keep paying attention to what's happening in the world, but
don't be ignorant, but that's second to your why. That's second to your
why and your creation. If nobody ever bought another book that I wrote for the rest of my life, I would still write. Right. Now, I would have to change some things about my life because I've chosen to do this for a living. So I'd have to change some things about my life if that were true, right? But at the same time, writing wouldn't end for me. I wouldn't stop writing.
I think I'm going to come up with another like t-shirt for this coming year. I think that I'm ready for, how last year we did Your Story Matters. I think this year I'm going to do a shirt that says keep showing up. Because I think that you guys need to understand that the authors that survive this business are the ones that keep showing up. So if you want to survive and if you want to continue, then like focus on your why and just keep going.
Keep showing up.
Don't give up. Don't give up. So anyway, I hope that gives you guys some encouragement as the news continues to spiral. We're not going to pay attention to that. Well, I'm going to go watch me some Firefly.
Exactly. And when we can close this podcast by saying, hey, it related to keep showing up, we've got some places where you can show up.
You can show up, right?
We've got some places where you can show up for free every single month and get free education.
Right.
And why do we give you free education? We don't give you free education because we're trying to sell you something. We're giving you free education because we care about you and care about your story.
We care about writers. Like that.
I love people that buy my stuff. I love people that buy my books, that buy my courses, that follow me all the places, all the things, right? Love it, love it. Don't stop doing it. That's fantastic. Great, awesome. But if nobody does it, it doesn't matter to me. Because the point is, what I want to do is I want your story to be the very best that it can be. So show up for, if you don't ever do anything related to me, but show up for our podcast and show up for our free webinars.
There you go. Oh, and also another fun free thing you guys can do, because we're now going to announce this. We're launching it this week.
Announce it.
Okay, so you guys can join our community over on School. We are now over there as the Author Business Harbor. It's actually, you can find us as Author Business Harbor or P2P Author Business Harbor. I'll put a link in the description below. It's free to join. We do have some premium tiers, like for access to some backlist videos that we sell, or that we, our webinars from the backlist and everything. We've got them published on there, but you can access those there as if you want to as well. But you guys, we're so excited. This is going to give you a place to ask questions, ask other authors. It is just launching. So it is brand new. It's on the ground floor. Like there's literally, like, I think we have one member that came over from YouTube last week, and we're so excited about her being there, but we would like her to have a whole swarm of you people over there. So go over there, join the community. It's where we can ask questions, answer questions, support each other as we go forward. It's just a bunch of nerds getting together, talking about the author and business life.
This is peer-to-peer, so you guys can talk to each other. You don't need to involve us.
We are in there. We're on the calendar.
If you have a specific questions, you can tag us. We will be having Ask Me Anything sessions on a weekly basis.
On a weekly basis for the premium members.
Some of those are for premium members. They can come to those on a weekly basis. But we'll also have ones that are open to everybody along with our monthly webinars. Look, what we're trying to do with everything that we're doing is we want you to show up. So we're trying to show up for you.
Right.
So you can find us. Okay. So School is a great opportunity for that. I'm really looking forward to seeing who's showing up in this community and what's going to happen. It's going to be a blast.
It's going to be really fun.
Anyway,
it's really fun. But anyway, so everybody, that's it for today. Like, we hope that you guys take what we're saying and just like take that advice and just remember to keep it nice and warm and protected in your heart, and go forth and be weird, keep writing and stay weird. We'll talk to you guys next week.
See you, everybody.